everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Look Back. Look Back is a video series that I do where I take a look at the reviews I did a year, 5 years, and 10 years ago and tell you what I think about them now. I'm taking a look at the reviews I did in this same time period. So in this same time period last year, I reviewed the Night Cage. Actually, I reviewed a lot of positive games. It's post-Essen, the Spiel in Essen time, so there's always a lot of good games. The Night Cage I gave a 7 to. I would give it a 10 on theme, though. This is a cooperative game where you're like stuck in some tunnel and you're crawling out with a candle and there's beasts and you're all trying to work together. The gameplay is fine. The theme is amazing and very terror-inducing. I also took a look at the Rocketeer, Fate of the Future, another 7. This is a 2-player game where one person's playing the Rocketeer, the other person's playing the bad guys trying to stop him. I very much like the theme of the Rocketeer. Is one of my favorite movies, so that kind of went into it, but it's also a very good game. Settlement, another 7. This is a worker placement style game where placing workers and building a little town and going off on adventures. There's some minor things that could have made it better, but it's a good 7. A little wordy. This is a 7 out of 10, and this one was a surprise to me. This is from the people who made Exploding Kittens, a word game. I wasn't expecting to have a very good, deductive 2-player word game. A little more luck maybe then, but still, the fact that you can find this in mass market stores is very happy with this one. Dog Lover. This is a sequel to Cat Lady, and in fact, it's almost the same game. Adds a few more rules, which make it not as good as Cat Lady, but it's still a fine game. 7 out of 10. Machi Koro 2. This is the sequel to Machi Koro. It's basically the same game, but they added different things you can build, give you a little bit more options, and just generally make the game better. 7.5. Dinosaur World. I'm dropping this one just by half a point from 8 to 7.5. I still like the game a lot. I just find that the table presence of this one, the massive table space this takes up, I wish wasn't as much as it is. You need a big table, and it takes up all of it. But it does bring Jurassic World to life. Night of the Ninja. This is a very fun social deduction game. In an era where I'm a little tired of that style of game, this one does stand out. 8 out of 10. Valiant, a little deck-building game. Me and my kids really enjoyed this one. Very simple, but sometimes simplicity is key. 8 out of 10. Iki. Oh, wow. This was the reprint of the original game. I never played the original game, but this reprint, beautiful production. Gorgeous cover, gorgeous stuff, but also a very fun game where you're moving a worker around, almost like a rondelle of sorts. But the theme is strong. I like it a lot. 8.5. And then Marvel United X-Men. This game, Marvel United X-Men, I really like. This was just the base set, but with all the stuff, and just a great game. 9 out of 10. 5 years ago, I reviewed Gang Up. This is a very messy, awful, terrible gangster game. 2 out of 10. Creepy Falls, a worker placement game from uplay.it, which looked cool. I was like, yes, Dracula and Frankenstein. Unfortunately, it's not good at all. 4 out of 10. The Princess and the Goblin. This is a 5 out of 10. It's a little game about a princess escaping, but there's just not much of a game there. Nice artwork, but meh. Gang Rush Breakout. This one has the worst money in all of gamedom, like little paper tokens for money. The idea sounds amazing, like driving down and shooting like a Fast and Furious style game. It doesn't pay off. I do remember playing this right before the hurricane, so hey, 5-year anniversary of Hurricane Irma. Among Us. This is another social deduction style game where there's aliens, creepy vibe, neat ideas, but it just misses the mark of being good. 6 out of 10. Number 9. This one I'm off. A lot of people like this game a lot. It's in the Dice Tower library because I know people enjoy it. A polyomino style game where all the polyominoes are numbers and you're placing them on top. I just found that to be too restrictive and not as fun. It's just okay to me. 6 out of 10. Princess Jing, a 2-player game where you look in mirrors to see your opponent's pieces. It's interesting. Didn't work as well as it should have. 6.5. Wind Up War. Man, this one is so close. Another 6.5. Just the idea of fighting each other with toys, with a little card game. Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. Now, Betrayal at House on the Hill has fallen for me a bit. Betrayals at Baldur's Gate I thought was a better option, especially since many of the games turn into straight-up cooperative games, which I like. So that's a 7 out of 10. Wizards Won It. This is a game from Mattel, an economic game that looks like a roll and move game. You're moving around a board, but the economic parts are pretty strong, even though it has a fantasy theme. 7 out of 10. Cuckoo. This is a weird blackjack style game where you're trying to hit 21. It would probably be a higher rating, but the rules and stuff are a little odd, so 7 out of 10. Spynet, a game in which you're collecting cards of different colors with spies, from Richard Garfield, 7 out of 10. Fate of the Elder Gods. I like this game, not as much as some of the other guys in the studio do, because I know it's higher rating for them. For me, it's just a 7 out of 10. But this idea where you're a cultist trying to bring the Elder Gods back, some ideas of sending people at different spots of the board, it's good. Exodus Fleet, this game from the now gone Tasty Minstrel games, about building a fleet to get people to the new planet. Very business economic game with a cool space theme. I enjoyed it, 8 out of 10. Paper Tales. Now Z loves this game. I think he might even give it close to a 10, but I also really enjoy it. 8.5. A drafting game where you're building a little group of people in front of you that are going to give you points in various ways with great, different artwork. And then Seventh Continent. Whew, this one's a tough one, Seventh Continent. I originally gave it a 10. I've dropped it to a 9. I still stand by my 10 when I played it, but there's a lot of these exploration games out now, and I'm seeing that some of them are better, and some of the warts of Seventh Continent, even though I still love it, are bubbling to the surface because it just, there needed to be a little bit more direction in the game. As is so, still an amazing game. All right, so let's go back 10 years ago. I played a game called Furt. This is just a game about stupidity. It's for the people who make Quelf, where you need to jump into a volcano, and I don't like games that make you be stupid on purpose. Village. So I gave Furt a 4 out of 10. Village I gave a 5 out of 10. And I know Village is a much more, and that was nominated for the Kennerspiel des Jahres, but it just didn't work for me. The theme is neat, where you have people and they die and you remember them, but Ark. This is a CCG-like style game with time traveling. It has not aged well in the past 10 years, so I now give it a 5 out of 10. Wilderness. I was kinder 10 years ago to games that that are like as ugly as this one. This is just about surviving in a wilderness, so this one is also now a 5. Banditos, a 5.5. This is from Baksha Games, who always feel like they're just a little short on the development cycle, and this is one where it was definitely clear. You're like going down into Mexico and committing crimes or whatever. Sounds like an interesting, fun pulp-style game, but there's too many rule problems. Battle Beyond Space. This is from Z-Man, designed by Frank Branham. It has a cool, funky, old-timey theme, and the gameplay is okay. 6 out of 10. Crazy Creatures of Dr. Gloom, which was once called Crazy Creatures of Dr. Doom until copyrights for obvious reasons, is a Michael Schacht card game, which again is fine. 6 out of 10. Sentinels of the Multiverse. This is one of the biggest drops in the last 10 years for me. I originally gave it an 8.5. Now it is a 6 for me. The app helps this. There's just so many other superhero games now. I still think the game is okay. I'll play it, but it just hasn't held up as well for me in the past 10 years. Urbania. This one I dropped because it doesn't look as pretty. Again, I was kinder about this 10 years ago. I dropped it to a 6.5. A city building style game from Mayfair. Puzzle Strike 3rd edition. Hey, we got Puzzle Strike 4th edition here 10 years later. Although there was funny, Puzzle Strike 3rd edition came out like a year after 2nd, which came like out a year or 2 after the 1st. Anyway, 7 out of 10. It's fine. I am very curious to play the new version and see what that's like. Star Trek Katan came out 10 years ago. This is better than Katan, actually, which is weird. The theme makes no sense as you're building routes and stuff, but it added some player powers that you could take, and I know that I'm pretty sure they just added these in a module to regular Katan, but that upped it a bit. 7 out of 10. Regani, this is an Angel versus Dark Angel type game from Mesa Board Games. It's just an odd theme and an odd game, but it worked. 7 out of 10. The Resistance. 10 years ago I played The Resistance. 8 out of 10. This game, I know some people like it more than me. I think it's very good. Definitely changed social deduction. Werewolf's been out for a while, but The Resistance put social deduction on the map as a genre. City of Horror. This one I dropped just a bit to an 8. This is a remake of Mall of Horror, where you're all in a city and zombies are coming in and you have to argue over who you throw out the door so that you can stay alive. Very vicious game, fun in the right settings. And then finally, Lost Valley, Yukon Gold Rush, 1896. This one I give a 9 to, and you're like, what? this game works really well. You're moving, it's very quick turns, you're going around collecting gold, prospecting gold in both streams and in mountains, but the turns, the actions are this fast, this quick. This is the remake I reviewed 10 years ago from Pandasaurus Games, and is one of the first games that made me go, Pandasaurus Games, they're a company to watch. And now, definitely 10 years later, they still are. Anyway, those are the reviews I did 1, 5, and 10 years ago. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Look Back on the Dice Tower.